All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Grant-Wright. When I'm not the National Account Manager for Lehigh Harrison, I am a mom and a wife and a Gen Xer, probably straight down the middle. But what I do every single day is I have the pleasure of, I specialize in helping connect people to jobs and helping individuals improve their performance. So that's what I do at Lehigh Harrison. And Lehigh Harrison's been doing that for longer than I've been alive. So very reputable firm. And so I'm really privileged to be here to facilitate the panel. We're going to jump right in for the sake of time. But before we do, we really want you to leverage this opportunity to make sure that everything here kind of starts and ends with you. So you get out of it what you put into it. You have to change your mindset in order to really be able to bridge the gap. Because once we finish today, we hope that you see more similarities than differences amongst the different generations. So before we start, by show of hands, how many traditionalists do we have? So that's Roy and his counterparts. So that's anybody who, if we're looking at the graph provided by Taylor and the chamber, then we're looking at folks that are probably born before 1943.
You'll be a quarter Taylor.
We have to work on that, Roy. It's dollars now, not quarters. How many boomers? Nice. Okay, Gen Xers? Oh, wow. We've got some work to do.
We're gonna stick together.
Okay, all right, great. Welcome.
I not believe that.
And Gen Y, Millennials. Okay, so this will be interesting. All right.
Roy, you're it.
No, Roy. Little voice.
Whatever you say goes.
This is dinosaur land.
Or Peter Rogers.
As we get closer to kind of kicking everything off, we really want you to think of one aha or one critical takeaway for today. Because before we close out, we'd like to hear from you if we have time, so that we can kind of compile that and send out the notes for the folks that weren't able to join us, to kind of tease them and let them know what they missed. So with that, I will start with Roy. So this is the group that demands respect, simply because of the wisdom that they hold for the experience that they've encountered over the years. Roy, don't blush. But this group really draws its core beliefs after coming of age through the Great Depression, World War II, and the Korean War. They are typically hypersensitive to frugality, law and order, and employer loyalty, and don't care much for change, and typically despise lack of respect. Personal sacrifice is a no-brainer for this group. They are defined by their job. Representing Traditionalists again is Roy. Roy is the Director of Business Development for S.W. Rogers Company Incorporated, which is a full-service, heavy highway site development utility and concrete contractor. I will not say that once. Serving Northern Virginia. He is also a board member of the Northern Virginia Building Industry Association, the Northern Virginia Transportation Alliance, the Home Builders Association of Virginia, Prince William Chamber, and serving as the executive committee and secretary. Is that correct? All right. So we have Roy. Roy, anything that I got wrong? Other than being a heck of a handsome gentleman? All right. All right. So then we're going to kind of skip over, and these are the folks we're going to call the boom boom boomers. Also called the yuppies. And they're generally in their early 40s to late 50s. This group does not like political incorrectness. They are driven by the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement, and women's lib. They have a love-hate relationship typically with financial prosperity, despite being pinched by downsizing. They have climbed the corporate ladder, and they do like to collaborate. Would you ladies agree? No one yes. Okay. Also, personal gratification is key to the group of this workaholics. I'm seeing some nods. So Donna Blackman is representing this resilient group this morning. A little more about Donna. Donna is a certified business coach and owner of the Growth Coach. She was, a Fortune 500 human resources executive with over 30 years of business experience in industries such as financial services, engineering, and behavioral health services. As the Growth Coach, She helps her clients clarify the vision, direction, and priorities of their organization through strategic coaching and accountability. Right? So all in the spirit of improving their business and personal lives. So she's got lots to do, so we're glad she's here too. Now, going over to my generation, which I proudly hold on to. Because mom and dad may have divorced or were working really hard to bring home the bacon. This group is typically the first latchkey generation that we're going to see represented on the panel today.
The X's, right?
Correct. Yep. And we hate, beyond a shadow of a doubt, corporate politics and not being included in very important business decisions. I wish we had something to write. I should have thought of a whiteboard, because that's like a glaring, typical thing for our generation. I'm seeing some nods. We are also married to our profession, not our employer. Okay? And this group has probably already had more than 7 jobs in their career, especially since they experienced mom or dad being laid off and or Wall Street going completely bananas. And Taylor is actually, even though Taylor's kind of on the cusp, he's going to represent Gen X for us this morning. And Taylor currently serves as the co-chair of the Ambassador Committee here at the Chamber, so we're glad to be under his leadership here. After majoring in finance, insurance, and business law, he started his own financial practice in Virginia Beach, and then joined the industry leader of Whitlock & Associates, I know that it's here today in Northern Virginia, at the end of 2008. So there's Taylor. And last but certainly not least, representing Gen Y, we have so much we're going to learn from Robert. He's representing the Gen Y and Millennials. Typically this group has seen a lot of school violence. They've had access to technology probably as early as preschool. And they've seen the world from a multicultural perspective from the time they walked into a school or an office setting. So very different perspective than a lot of the other generations. This group is, by and far, the most tolerant of all of the generations. So we need to give them a woohoo just for that. One thing that we'll hear a little bit more from Robert is about whether or not they expect to be micromanaged. So we're going to touch on that, because I think when you hear Robert's perspective, it's not so much the micromanaging that they expect. It's some other things, even though typically we, the older generations, may call it or see it as that. Okay? They sometimes expect daily praise, check-ins, and feedback, but on their terms. Robert nodded. And because they have a peer-like relationship with their parents, that's where this expectation typically comes from. So anybody that's managing or working with anybody in this group or wants to sell to anybody in this group, Robert will bring some insight as far as that's concerned. This relationship with their parents, this peer-like relationship, has likely not prepared them to be as spontaneous as some of the older generations would like for them to be, and makes them resent not being taken seriously. Okay? Millennials want to make a difference in their community, and they thrive on community-oriented activities. They like to brainstorm out loud sometimes and solve problems in groups. And so Robert is a 2008 Virginia Tech graduate. He currently works at ECS Limited, Mid-Atlantic, as a geotechnical engineer. All right, so this is our panel. And we do want you all to leave again with as much information as possible to grow your businesses, to make yourself better professionals, and to gain market share with whatever it is that you're doing. So we need your participation. So I've never been a college professor. I don't want to start that today. So if you guys don't talk, I'll be forced to make you like stand up and do calisthenics and things that people who are used to facilitating will make you do to show that you're awake and had your coffee. Okay?
Okay.
Yes,
See,
ma'am.
we have one brilliant student. Let's try this again, okay?
Okay.
All right. And no, I haven't had coffee. I don't drink it. So anything that we said kind of resonate? I saw some head nods. Anything that anybody just flat out disagrees with?
I do not love the micromanage as a lot of person. So that, and maybe that's just my personality, but I typically think that when I think of micromanaging, I think you're on me constantly. Tell me what to do, when to do it, when to. Whereas I kind of feel like you just tell me what my tasks are in my job generally, I'll get them done, and as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna go on to a chamber event, or go meet with clients, or go home and do some laundry. I mean, whether it has to be 4 or 5 o'clock or not.
Excellent. So that's a really, really, really good way to start us off, and we did not rehearse that, I promise you. But what we're going to do today is we're going to throw out some scenarios to make the panel interactive. So again, if you completely agree, you can nod, wave your hand, a good old amen or something, just so that we know that we're kind of on point. If you don't agree, let me know that too, because it's hard to kind of stand here and read faces as the facilitator. So we're actually going to throw out the first scenario to Robert.
All right.
So spontaneity, right? Because we said you don't typically like that, so that's why you have the first scenario.
Oh, yeah.
So let's say, Robert, that you and, I'm sorry, what was your name? Jessica, have just been tasked to create a component for new hire training for engineers, okay, that are joining your company right out of college. So right out of college, we just kind of talked about this whole college thing before the panel got started. How would you all, as Gen Ys, particularly Robert, how would you approach the project? Can you walk us through your decision-making process?
I think typically, first off, and this goes back to us being team-oriented and very community-oriented, I want to get feedback initially from people who would be in that potential new hire situation. I mean, this is assuming that I've been with the company for a couple of years, I'm used to the processes. I'd probably try to go find some people in the company who have just recently been hired in that same sort of position and see what they would want. Because I think our generation is one that it's so easy and quick to get data and to get information in our generation that there's no reason to us that you can't gather this information quickly enough to be able to come up with a program that's effective versus trying to throw something out there that may not fit and then see if it fails or flies and then reorienting. There's too much data out there now to be able to just go ahead and go forward with it. And so I think first thing I would do is I'd go get some input from people who were recently in that position if I wasn't. And then try to build a program based on that in a team-oriented atmosphere. I'd probably get Jessica's opinions on exactly what we wanted to do. And really the thing is I think our generation, while other generations have been more fact-based in the past, I think our generation, because of, like, you look at everything today with cloud computing, all this information and everything kind of coming to a nexus where everybody is communicating and creating kind of a central hub of information, I think that by using those inputs, we all kind of feel that the right answer is always at the middle of the road by having everybody come together and put an opinion together. And if you get enough data, you'll come to a right answer just by it converging. I kind of think that's how our generation looks at problems. It's like when I watch news and politics, I see both sides of the parties on the way outside, and I'm like, man, if they could just come together and give a little and take a little, we could get the right answer, we could get there, people. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I don't know if Jessica feels the same way.
Yeah, we need to form a committee first.
Form a committee.
Pretty much.
Together, get people, get information.
And at the same time, we'd also probably pull in the older generations as well, even if that wasn't necessarily implied from the get-go. We would probably pull in people older than us because we want to create a program that's not just acceptable to us, but that they can look down on and be like, oh, okay, well, this was worked on as a collaborative effort from all these people. Even though our input may be the driving force behind it, we want them to sign off on it. And I think that also comes off to what I want to discuss on later about the micromanaging, like Jessica brought up earlier. I think that can be misconceived as micromanaging, that we want people to sign off on it. That's not necessarily true. We want buy-in. We want everybody to be happy with it from the get-go so that nobody's raising flags or causing corporate politics issues that might, drag this down.
Okay, very good. Question, comment?
How detailed do you like the project to be?
I think
It's given to you, do you want
Good question.
very detailed expectations of the project, due dates, milestones?
it depends on how the project's been given to us, and I think this is another reason why this micromanagement misconception comes up. If I am supposed to complete the task entirely by myself with no input, as in you want me to come up with a solution all on my own, I probably want more details because I'm not going to be able to go to other people and look for pieces of the puzzle that I may have missed.